Alright, shalom, brothers. I want to start off by giving all glory, honor, and praises to the Most High and His only begotten Son. Double honors to the elders and respect to the brothers out there doing this word. Alright? So, names Yahweh, who the word ignorantly calls God, and Yahweh Shai, who the word ignorantly calls Christ. Wake up 12 tribes of Israel, and I'm going to get into that, man. Yahweh, Judah, the so-called Negroes, or African Americans. Benjamin, the so-called West Indies, Indians, like over there in the West Indies, the so-called, like, Jamaica, the Belize, Levi, the so-called Haitians, Simeon, the so-called Dominican Republic. I mean, the ones in the Dominican Republic, because they're, Haitian, Levi and Simeon are brothers. Instruments of cruelty are in their habitation, going into the prophecy. Zebulon, Guatemala to Panama. Ephraim, Cubans. Manasseh, Salaka, Ephraim, Puerto Ricans. Right? So Ephraim, Puerto Ricans. Manasseh, Cubans. North American Indians, Gad. The Reuben, Seminole Indians. Naphtali, Argentina and Chile. Asher, Colombia to Uruguay. And Issachar, so-called Mexican. And believe it or not, the so-called elites and the ruling powers, the ruling elites, they know this. Okay? They have this knowledge. They took our history, our knowledge and everything from us when they brought us into captivity. Looking for ways to set brothers up, death and destruction to them. Alright? Death and destruction to this wicked kingdom. And death and destruction to 2/3, man. And death and destruction to the heathens, man. Trying to come up against the prophets, alright? So, this is Deuteronomy 28, verse 68. And the Lord shall bring thee into Egypt again with ships, by the way whereof I spake unto thee. Thou shalt see it no more again, and there ye shall be sold unto your enemies, for bondmen and bondwomen, and no man shall buy you. So did that not happen to the so-called Negroes, man? What other nation on the planet, what other nation on the face of the earth did that happen to? That's the only answer for that question is the so-called Negroes. There's no other nation that happened to. That did not happen to any other nation, man. I don't care how anybody tries to swing that one. You can't swing that one and say to Jews, so-called Jews. No, man. It only happened to the so-called Negroes. The wicked in the earth, the so-called white man, Job 9 verse 24, don't want this to go out, man. Alright? I want to get a precept. Hosea 8 verse 13. They sacrifice flesh for the sacrifice of mine offerings, and eat it, but the Lord accepted them not. Now will he remember their iniquity, and visit their sins. They shall return to Egypt. In Egypt, it's synonymous for bondage. Okay? Bondage. Slavery, man. So he's telling them, because our people was being wicked, they was going off, they would just sin, knowing that, they would take the sin take the sin offerings, they would do it in vain, like take it in vain. Alright, like the scripture, roughly paraphrasing. Well, I'm not going to paraphrase, but they would take it in vain. They would sin, then they would, go sacrifice a dove. Then they would sin again, and they just keep doing it. It's like, playing, being a reprobate, man. The Most High told them what would happen in Deuteronomy. Deuteronomy 28, verse 50. Starting at 47, it says, because thou servest not the Lord thy power with joyfulness and with gladness of heart, for the abundance of all things. Therefore, because our people, the Most High, when he brought us out of Egypt, man, from the hands of Pharaoh, Yeah, I think it's Exodus 9 verse 16 about, because he raised up Pharaoh to show his power. All right, just like how he raised up this wicked kingdom, so it can get nuked. All right, because thou servest not that the Lord. Our people was going off sacrificing to other gods. All right, with joyfulness and with gladness of heart for the abundance of all things. Therefore shalt thou serve thine enemies, which the Lord shall send against thee, in hunger and in thirst and in nakedness and in want of all things. Serving our enemies, the so-called white man. You go to these corner stores, man. If you're really alert and checking it out, man, it ain't our people that are running these things, man, running these stores and all that stuff. Every now and then you might see a sellout Jake, but it's these freaking these other nations, man. When you hungry, where you go to? The store, man. We're not independent. I mean, we're never independent. Nobody's ever independent. The only independent person is the Most High. But we're not like we're dependent on these nations, man. All right, we got to go to them for everything, for food, for clothing, for everything. And the Most High told us that would happen, man. And in one of all things, and he shall put a yoke of iron upon thy neck until he have destroyed thee. All right, that yoke of iron, had us in slavery. And then they took that yoke of iron off, but to a lot of people that are still in that are still mentally slaves or mentally enslaved, to them they still have that yoke of iron around their minds, man, because they're mentally enslaved. They got our people in a mental slavery. They took them out of slavery, but they still feel like they're in slavery mentally, man. Okay, I mean that's also because they ain't been given that spirit of love, man. So a lot of our people, they still living in fear the so-called white man. They still living in fear. The Lord shall bring a nation against thee from far, from the end of the earth, as swift as the eagle flieth. Right, that eagle Rome, man. Going back to the Roman Empire, yo. I mean, man, that eagle. That's the symbolism. Going back to Obadiah 1 verse 3, about the pride of thine heart, man. Set thy nest high, above the stars as the eagle, roughly paraphrasing. A nation whose tongue thou shalt not understand. A nation of fierce countenance, which shall not regard the person of old, nor shew favor to the young. Okay? He ain't had no mercy on the he ain't had no he ain't had no regard for the person of old nor shew favor to the young. Round up everybody, throw them in the ship, people shitting on each other. They threw off a lot of our people off the ships. Sharks ate them. Brought us over here into captivity, did all type of wickedness to them. Ain't had no mercy. Okay? And what I'm trying to get into is, regardless of what all these other fake people preach and teach, these pastors that are sold the heck out, and the so-called white man that don't want our people to wake up, and the so-called white man, they got their power from the Most High. The Most High got them set up because of the blessing to Esau. But when that time comes, the saints gonna take the kingdom, man. So brothers ain't playing. I don't know what gave, but this is 1 Chronicles 5 verse 25. And they transgressed against God of their fathers, and went a whoring after the gods of the people of the land, whom God destroyed before them. Now this is a good example, man, showing that the Most High is the one that did all that, man. And the God of Israel stirred up the spirit of Pul, king of Assyria, and the spirit of Pilneser, king of Assyria. He stirred up their spirits, man. And this happened more than once. Every time when our people was in slavery, and even till today, it's because the Most High, man. All the those times back in the the ancient days, I mean, not ancient days, but those times back in the days of old, and where every now where every now and then a certain king would have rule over us and have us pay tribute for a certain amount of time. Our people was going off, man, and Most High sent those different kings to do that, man. And then when we came back, man, guess what, man? We took over again. Just like now, the fierce, Deuteronomy 28 verse 50. That fierce count, that that nation of fierce countenance, when Rome, and it came, and our people fled from Roman persecution and all that stuff, man. Then what you think is gonna happen when like the scriptures talk about, man? I mean, brothers, because brothers, the elect. That's why brothers say it's only for the elect, and they push that hard. It's not for the whole nation, because 2/3 of our people will be cut off, man. They're gonna be cut off out there in these race riots. They're gonna be cut off out there in these FEMA camps. They're gonna be cut off out there being wicked, want to continue in their filthiness, man. All right. So, and the God of right, stirred up the spirit of Pul, king. All right. And he carried them away, even the Reubenites and the Gadites and the half tribe of Manasseh, and brought them unto Halah, or Halah, and Habor and Harah, and to the river Gozan, unto this day. Okay. So he carried them away. He stirred up the spirit in these kings, man. These kings don't control nothing. Let me get a scripture. Proverbs, I think it's 11 verse 21. If I'm not mistaken. If I can't find it, well, I'll just try to paraphrase it. No, that's not it right there. Salaki though, but I'm gonna just try to roughly paraphrase it, man. The kings, the heart of the king is in the hand of the Most High, as the rivers, roughly paraphrasing, right? He drive it whithersoever he wants. Salaki though, but roughly paraphrasing. So these kings, man, though you don't see a bunch of people from these nations wearing crowns, because they just give them different titles. But these elites and all, the Most High controls this. The Most High runs this show, man. So these people, they read up on the Bible. Like when you go into deep information, I forgot who it was that told them just get them to discontinue and stop following the Bible. That's why they don't even want to see so-called blacks, so-called Negroes read the Bible, because they understand that. They try to keep brothers away from the Bible. Or if they're reading the Bible, they want them to be talking about some Christianity BS, man. Alright? That's the reason back in slavery they would kill a brother for reading the Bible, but probably whoop you just for reading a book. You go up in a bookstore, you take any book, they don't care. But once you say the Bible, then they got that look. Alright? But ain't nobody scared of these heathens, man. Ain't nobody scared of, 2/3. Alright? And when that time comes, man, because this is what you call it, season, fishing season. But when hunting season come, I'd like to see how they fare against whoever those brothers gonna be that gonna get those spiritual powers, man. I like to see how they fare against them. And that's why we gonna put fetters of iron around these devils, man. Straight up bring them in captivity, show no mercy on them, man. Expect, trying the prophets, man. We gonna do them dirty, man. Hearts gonna meditate, minds gonna meditate terror like crazy, man. So these heathens better, they got they in for a rude awakening, man. Alright? Had our people in captivity for way too long, far too long, man. Alright? But with that, I want to give all glory, honor, and praise to the Most High and His only begotten Son. Double honor to the elders and respect to the brothers out there doing this work. I hope brothers were edified as to why we're in our why we're in captivity. But this is only for the elect, the nation of Israel, man. Shalom.